Is it the fact that all of my hype just frame bombas using 6S2 got nuked? No. Well, I have some feelings about that. It's this one little input quirk that I think has pretty big implications overall, but was swept under the rug. Dash macro priority. What's up? Mostly a talking video today. I truly don't think this is the biggest deal in the world, but before going into this, I'd like to thank the 2xko team for their efforts. Tremendous amount of work to navigate all this feedback, so humorous clickbait title aside, I'd like to provide some critical feedback without framing it as negative. So I do want to reiterate that this is solely my opinion. I speak with limited context as an outsider, but I just feel like it'd be helpful to express and contextualize it here because it's a bit esoteric. So I do know of other people who are aware of the changes that I'm talking about who feel the same way that I do, but the subtle nature of it makes it go unnoticed by most people, so shedding light on it can only help the overall feedback. So I bring up this topic because I think it has a rather wide-reaching effect. I'd like to at least draw attention to it so that if there is really dissatisfaction with the change, as I feel, it can be communicated on properly by everyone else. So that said, let's get into it. So, in my Combo System Mechanics for Nerds video, there's a section on input masking. I cover a technique that allows you to use the dash macro to mask your backliner's inputs while piloting your point character with great flexibility. A large majority of characters in the game have some applications for this, however this technique was silently affected in the recent 1.0.3 update. Previously, dash macro had same frame priority over specials and throws, but now this is no longer the case. However, you can still accomplish a similar effect to what I had demonstrated in the video with this convoluted input. Here I input 4D, plank S2, plank 1, plank 5D to dash backwards, buffer the S2 in the backdash unactionable frames, crouch cancel the backdash, and then dash forward to take advantage of my teammate as soon as possible. Notably, I can't do 6S2 follow-up with Darius anymore without breaking my hands. What the heck? Before I just had to press 2 buttons. Oh well, that's too bad. You'll just have to hold the execution check. Well, actually, maybe not. If I played Vi. Yep, works exactly the same as it used to. LMH inputs are still lower priority than the dash macro, meaning you can still get full mileage out of your teammates' tagged out actions if their action corresponds to L, M, or H. I don't need to do the crazy input, I don't need to worry about losing distance and time doing that nightmare input either. Even half of Darius' tagged out kit can still be utilized with the same technique as before because of Apprehend's LMH follow-ups. What gives? So, one of my problems with this is the lack of consistency. Over half of the cast has some kind of option that was affected by the recent patch. While you can whiff moves and buffer team actions during their recovery, or do a move that has a shared input with your teammate, this being relevant or useful is heavily dependent on the pair of characters you play and limits the strength and flexibility of this kind of synergy overall. Unless you play Vi or Teemo, then any partner is fair game and you can do some crazy stuff. Yeah, you can throw in between Teemo darts. Beyond just consistency and option strength, I feel like it's less than ideal to tell someone who is learning the game, picking their favorite characters, and interested in exploring the more unique 2xko systems, hey, you can effectively do some teammate actions from the back, sometimes, depending on their button or direction. With dash macro masking, this gets opened up to significantly more character pairs and tools. This recent change adds layers of inaccessibility to the concept for many characters that could previously utilize this in a much more freeform manner. These kinds of options are cool to hear about and oftentimes inspiring. Team concepts are, in my opinion, what really stands out in this game, and I'm not alone in this. After my last video, I've gotten so many people saying, wow, I didn't know I could do that, I'd love to try it with my team. I think this change inadvertently gates conceptual exploration towards the unique parts of 2xko's team play that I'd like newer players to have access to, and not feel like they have to learn contextual ins and outs to piece something together. Which is the fun part of the sandbox, right? What do you mean I can't use tagged out actions in a useful way without breaking my hands, but all my friends can easily do cool things with their team comms? Previously, the universal rules were much easier to convey, and this is one that interacts with the coolest parts of 2xko, but now it's a bit hindered. As an Ari Darius player, tagged out input masking is relevant literally every round. Every time I have Darius on point, it's a thing to consider that influences my block shrink threat. So this silent change has had a huge impact on my round-to-round play, since my threatening distances have changed due to the backdash requirement. Not to mention, it's just a huge pain to input the new stuff. It's so obnoxious, I don't even want to do it sometimes. Before anyone says, oh, you're just mad that they nerfed your thing, I can do the input. This is a consideration for Timmy down the block who just learned how to press 2 buttons at the same time. These open-ended team options can be key for underdeveloped or underrepresented teams to function at their best, and when I think about future characters, this makes me view it as a slight detriment when characters have their follow-ups on S1 or S2. I don't want to be thinking about that, I want to be thinking about their kit. Personally, I'd be okay with how it was before, which was great, or parity with having button priority entirely normalized so that no character could mask their inputs with dash. But who wants to lose options to engage with their team? I have zero expectation to ask someone to do that psychotic plink from earlier to interact with something so central to what I believe is one of the game's core appeals. And I don't envy the person who has to explain to an aspiring player looking at other characters doing accessible pressure extension and say, "Oh, you have to do some crazy stuff to do something similar with your team because of their button design now." Actually, I've already had to do that. Well, in closing, I want to again thank the team for their hard work. These things are hard to balance. While this patch has graciously come with lots of changes that address player pain directly, Time Winder, the point of this video is to pull attention towards something that I personally would like reconsideration towards. So imagine your favorite character comes out, and this kind of thing restricts you from doing what you can imagine because they happen to have a follow-up on 6S1 instead of 5H. It would kinda suck. So I had a brief exchange with Yahozi over Twitter about this, and while of course there are many more reasons than what they've shared for this change, perhaps there is a way to have our cake and eat it too. Regardless of the reasons, this change does end up being a flat-out loss of accessibility to something that I think is valuable as a building block for team play, arguably the most unique part of the systems in 2xKO. So if all special follow-ups could be performed with LMH, that would work. If specials were given lower priority than dash macro again, that would work too. Either way, we just need to talk about it, give them feedback, let them, me, anyone, whoever know what you think about this, and they can cook up a solution if one needs cooking at all. Again, thank you for bearing with me. Until next time.